let's talk about how you can find your grips easily for every gram stroke, which is a question that I get asked a lot when I'm starting out. What are the correct grips? All right, let's dive into it. So we're gonna start with the forehand because maybe it's the one that's a little more complicated just because it has a little bit more variations that we can use. Basically, the most common used forehand grip is called semi-western. That is just the most common grip used between players, pro players. And how we find our semi-western grip easily, grab the racket like this. Notice I'm grabbing it here on the triangle. In this position, the string's facing me. And basically we're gonna put the hand right on the top, okay? That is gonna be our semi-western and preferred grip for the forehand, okay? Easy enough. So if we are in this position here, waiting for the ball, which we should be here, then we just put it right on top, and that's it. We have the forehand grip, okay? So that is called the semi-western grip. Put it like this, and just put it right on top, okay? That is your semi-western. Now, from this grip, we can either go towards a western grip, which is the racket is going to go more close and we're just going to go a little bit more to the right. So notice what my hand's going to do. This was the semi-western, and now I'm going to go this way into a western, and now it looks more like this. Notice now my strings are already more close, and when I take it back, my strings are more close. It is also pretty used. Now it does have some limitations because it is harder to hit the ball, get the ball off the ground, just because my strings are more closed. But you know, there are some players that do feel very comfortable with this grip. Again, the semi-western is the most used and most recommended, but that is how to find easily the semi-western. So we go from semi-western, we go a little bit to the right, that will be a western grip. Now we're gonna go into eastern forehand grip. So we have our semi-western here, we grab it, and now we're gonna go a little bit to the left, okay, right there. That would be a eastern grip, okay? So now look at the difference. When I set up here, look at my strings, look. So they don't look like this anymore, naturally, they look like this. My strings are gonna be a little bit more open, okay? Yes, they're gonna be a little bit more open. It's gonna be a little bit more challenging to hit spin. For example, Roger Federer has this grip, and it looks awesome and it's great, but it is difficult because the strings are a little bit more open, and you do have to really use a lot of wrist and cover that ball to basically get the spin and get over that ball. So it is sometimes challenging. If it's comfortable for you, that's awesome. It is a great grip to use. Again, that is how we find it. We're gonna go into our semi-western, and we go a little bit to the left. That is our eastern grip. And those are the three grips that we can use for the forehand. Now, it's your preference, whichever one you want to use. See whichever you feel more comfortable. I would recommend the semi-western, but again, it's what you feel most comfortable with. Now we're going to talk about the backhand grips. So there's less variations here. You know, you can move and play around with it a little bit, but basically it's very important that our strings on the backhand are straight. Okay, that is very important to talk about, because if you have a grip that your racket looks like this, it's not a good idea. You're going to struggle. You're going to end up hitting balls this way. It's really going to be tough to get extension with the left hand, because the ball is going to go into the net, so we're going to be hitting like this. We want our strings to be straight. We also don't want to be setting up with the strings open, because then it's really difficult to go over it. And how we get those strings here straight, the easiest way is, so we're gonna, the right hand, now we're gonna grab the racket like this, not like this anymore. We're gonna put it this way with the frame facing us, and we're gonna grab this right hand, if you're righty, continental. So continental, this is how we find our continental grip. That is how we're gonna put our right hand and our left hand. Basically, now if you see, setting it back here, my racket is naturally straight, and we're just gonna put our left hand right on the side. Okay, see how straight that is? Easy enough, right? So continental, put it down, slide it down, put it into the ready position back here, and put the hand on the side. Okay, now the variations we can find with this grip sometimes with the continental It can be slightly a little bit more inside to the left a little bit. For example, mine is a little bit like this, a little bit more inside. Notice the racket is still straight, okay? So you can play around with it, maybe just 1 centimeter, I would say, but we want to have it straight when we go back here. So you already know that if your strings are looking like this with this hand, it's not right. If it's looking like this in this hand, it's definitely not right. And this left hand, you also want it on the side. There are some players that have it a little bit more to the left, you know, and they have to cover a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult. We don't want to have it. That was more to the right, sorry. So a little bit more to the right, and they have to cover a little bit. But if you move it too much to the left, now look what happened to my racket. So we don't want to have this side hand move too much to the left or too much to the right, okay? Right here. Simple enough, right? Make it easy for yourself. Now, after you learn this, everything else, I promise it is easier. So now let's talk about the serve, which we already kind of learned because the serve is a continental grip. So for the serve, we want to find the continental like this, same as we found the backhand with our right hand. That is the continental. That is how we serve, okay? There's no variations for this. It is continental. We definitely don't want to serve in a semi-western grip because it's going to look like pancake serve. We don't want to do that. So continental. Sometimes if you're very advanced, you can move it slightly to the left if you want to get maybe a little bit more slice or a little bit more spin for a second serve. But again, I just recommend it to keep it continental for the serve. That is pretty simple. For the overhead, it is exactly the same as the serve. We have our same continental grip for the overheads, and for the volleys as well, the same continental grip for the volleys. So we would go here from this position on the volley, continental, have this hand for support, forehand volley right here, and backhand volley right here, also continental. We don't have to switch from here and then switch the grip from here. No, it is all continental, how we learn to find the grip right here. We just have to turn and turn. That's it, continental. Please don't forget. Now for the slice, guess what? Also continental. So pretty easy on all of those, right? Not much to think about. Slice, volleys, overhead serves, they are all continental. Drop shots, also continental. So for the slice, we'll go here, is the same grip, okay? So I hope that helped you guys and made your experience with finding your grips easier if you're starting out or if you are changing grips or so on. So if you found this information useful, please make sure to like this video and subscribe.